Good morning. Welcome back to Unlocking the Paradigm Portal. My name is Sarah. So, this week I am pushing the envelope a bit. If you haven't noticed, I'm diving heavy into generational wounds. Monday, we talked about the unworthy wound that turns your exhaustion into your identity. Did that one land? Let it settle. Let everything settle and don't rush past it. Sit with it, feel it, recognize the discomfort. That's a place to grow. And I'll be honest, today's is a lot harder. And it is a personal one for me. I've actually worked through it for the most part, but we'll call them the echoes from the past have been kicking my ass. And let me tell you, I have tried to record this 12 times today, 12 times. And every time something has gone completely haywire, sideways. I've had a coughing fit. The traffic outside is bonkers. The neighbor's dogs won't stop barking. It just I keep fumbling because this one was my own personal wound that quite literally dropped me to my knees in my kitchen years ago before I started all of my attachment work. So I'm going to just fumble through this. And if I fumble, roll with it, whatever. This is take number 13. So we're just going to go with it. Oh, this is the unlovable wound. The one that says that you are too much and you are not enough, and you are the kind of person that people eventually leave. It's super fun. And this one, it's quiet, and it is frickin' vicious. Frankly, it's insidious. So we're just going to dive in. You've probably never fully let anyone in if this wound is impacting you. Not that you're aware of it. And you've probably rarely, if ever, let anyone see the real version of you, like the unedited one with the contradictions and the needs and the parts you've decided are too much or too weird to put on the table. So you let people see the curated version, the mask, the one that is palatable, safe enough to be loved. You probably have two sides to you. The real one that hides because you feel like it's just going to be rejected, and the fake one that is that exterior veneer that you let people see. And when people love this curated version, this mask, this exterior self, it doesn't quite hit the mark, does it? And that's because underneath the performance of being fine, underneath all of that, is that underlying belief that if the person actually knew you, like the real you, they would go, they would take off. So you keep a distance that looks an awful lot like closeness. You probably become an expert at feigning closeness. And you stay just far enough inside of yourself that when the leaving happens, and you are absolutely certain that it will, you can say you saw it coming. You can say it's fine. But it's not fine, and it didn't start with you. You may think you've been protecting yourself from being hurt, but in reality, think about this. Have you been protecting others from the version of you that you decided is too much to be loved? That, my friends, is the wound talking, not the truth. And the unlovable wound is this core belief that real, sustained love, like the kind that sees you and stays with you and chooses you every single time, is not available to you. And not because of circumstances, but because of something essential in who you are. It is bone deep. It's different from the unworthy wound. So the unworthy wound says, I have to earn my place, but the unlovable wound goes further. It says, even if I perform perfectly, the love that comes back still won't last. Because the problem isn't what I do, it's who and what I am. It is visceral. It is a sucker punch, let me tell you. And it shows up as push-pull dynamics. And you want closeness desperately, but the moment someone gets close enough that their opinion actually matters, you either run or you start testing. And you create small disasters to see if they'll stay. And you push right at the edge of the relationship's limits to find out if it will hold. Because being blindsided by an ending is the thing that your nervous system believes it cannot survive. So you manufacture the crisis and you control the exit before it can sneak up on you. It's like a controlled detonation. But the crazy thing is you probably don't even realize that's what you're doing. Or you go the opposite direction and you become the perfect partner, the perfect friend. You anticipate every need, smooth every rough edge, make yourself indispensable. Because if you are necessary enough, maybe they won't leave. And if you are useful enough, maybe that can substitute for lovable. But here's what makes this wound particularly brutal. It is self-confirming. The distance that you keep creates the disconnection that you feared. The testing strains the relationship until it breaks, and the overfunctioning breeds resentment. And every time something ends, the wound says, "Ha, see, right there, proof." Oh, the unlovable wound does not wait to be proven right. It engineers the evidence, and then it calls that evidence reality. It's self-gaslighting. And where did it come from? Let's go back, just like on Monday, the generational map. Before I get there, there is no judgment, no shame, and no blame. Those are my 3 hard and fast rules. No breaking that. Got it? We are scientists observing patterns. That's it. So as always, this wound did not originate with you, but it travels differently than the unworthy wound. So the unworthy wound gets passed through messages about productivity, right? Well, the unlovable wound gets passed through the quality of emotional presence. What happened when you brought your full self into the room as a child? And starting with the silent generation, they loved their children, but the emotional vocabulary of that era was essentially non-existent, hence the name silent generation. So they managed the logistics of care, food, shelter, discipline, and that was considered the full expression of love. Children who needed more were told directly or through consistent withdrawal that their emotional needs were excessive and that being easier to manage was the same as being loved. Then come the boomers, and they inherited that template. They understood more than their parents that children had emotional needs, but had no roadmap for meeting those needs because no one had ever met theirs. It's the blind leading the blind. So love was conditionally present. It's warm when you're easy, and it's cooler when you're difficult. And the message may not have been spoken. It might have, but it may not have been. And it was received. The hard to love parts of you are the parts that make love go away. And then we move into Gen X. Oh, my lovely Gen X. And Gen X took all of that stuff from the boomers and the silent generation into the divorce epidemic of the 70s and the 80s. And many Gen X kids watched love end. They watched families dissolve. And the wound for Gen X often looks like a bone-deep conviction that permanence isn't real, that love is temporary by nature, and that the smart move is to expect the ending. So the wound showed up differently with Gen X. It wasn't necessarily, I am unlovable. It's that love is not realistic and it doesn't stay. It's like jaded around love, period. So then we go to the millennials, and they got the wound wrapped in a paradox. So they were told that they are special and beloved while raised during this intense outcome-focused parenting that prioritized achievement over presence. A lot of millennials had their boomer parents. Now, it's so funny. I'm just going to side note this. I'm noticing my throat is getting all clogged and gunky. And that for me is a sign of my own residual wounding trying to come up and like shut me up. If you remember my first Saturday or Sunday deep dive, I talked about how speaking and using my voice, it would literally, I felt choked off. And it's literally what happens when things hit a little too close to home. So I apologize if I start coughing. Oh, okay. Where was I? Millennials, outcome-focused parenting. And it's all about achievement over presence. And love probably felt abundant in the abstract, but like oddly thin, so to speak, in the specific. And the message that they would have received is, I am loved for the version of me that succeeds. I'm not sure anyone would stay for the version that falls apart. And then we move on to Gen Z. Oh, Gen Z. Oh, no matter what anyone says, they have it so beyond difficult. Gen Z is navigating this with zero precedent because lovability is now being publicly quantified in real time with followers and comments and the algorithm deciding what gets seen. And the curated self has become so normalized that the real self has nowhere left to breathe. I have witnessed this with my kids and with kids abroad. The mask, that's all they know. Most of them really don't have that solid sense of self inside. So the mask becomes what they project out and who they truly believe that they are. They're not even aware that they have this dichotomy. It's really challenging to watch. And this is why the mental health crisis with teenagers and young adults is so tragic right now. Anyways, that's a whole other side conversation. So all of this is different contexts, different expressions, but it's the same wound running underneath. And it's the same question, which is, am I the kind of person that someone could actually stay for? So every generation answered that question with the only tools that they had. And then they passed their answer down before their children were even old enough to know that they had received it. And this unlovable wound, it doesn't announce itself. Let me make that super clear. It operates in the background of your daily choices, like a setting that no one has shown you how to change. And it pops up like a sucker punch. And it shows up in very subtle ways before that, in how you edit yourself before you speak. You know, that half-second pause when you assess whether what you were just about to say is too much or too needy or too weird, and then you try to replace it with something more acceptable. You've done it so many times, it probably doesn't even feel like you're editing anymore. It just feels like speaking. And it shows up in how you handle conflict. So for some people, the wound creates conflict avoidance so thorough that your actual needs have become nearly invisible, not just to the people around you, but to yourself. And you agree not because you agree, but because disagreement feels like a test the relationship might fail. But then for others, it runs the opposite direction. So then conflict becomes the testing ground. If someone can stay through me at my most difficult, my most demanding, then maybe the staying is real. And the fighting is never really about whatever the fight is about. It's about finding out if the love has limits, and the wound always suspects it does, so it searches for them. And it'll show up in how you receive love that you didn't earn, like random affection. The spontaneous "I love you" or the text that says "I was just thinking about you." It should feel good, right? And it does, maybe briefly. But then that wound comes for it. That frickin' insidious wound comes out of the dark and latches on, and it finds a way to explain it away, keeping it at arm's length, because if you let it all the way in and it turns out to be temporary, the loss feels catastrophic. So it's better to maintain the distance. That was totally my jam, by the way. I was so good at explaining everything away. But it also can show up in loneliness, and not the loneliness of actually being alone, but the loneliness of being surrounded by people who think that they know you, while you know that they only know the version that you let out. The pretty one, the polite one, the just right one that you feel is okay because they might like that more than the real you. And it's the loneliness of being seen and still somehow not found. Oh, that's the loneliness of the unlovable wound. It's not of being abandoned. It's of never fully arriving. So here's the thing the wound does not want you to know. It is not evidence about your nature. It is evidence about your history. The belief that you are fundamentally unlovable was formed in a specific context, a family system, an attachment dynamic, moments in childhood where your emotional needs were met with inconsistency or withdrawal. The belief was a rational response to that environment. And if the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally had conditions and limitations, then maybe the limitation is me. But that is a child's logic applied to an adult's reality. The child didn't have access to the fuller picture, the full picture, that the people who were supposed to love them unconditionally were carrying wounds that they'd never examined. Hell, they didn't even know that examining them was an option. They didn't even know that they existed. That's just what you did. And there's a fumble. The withdrawal, it wasn't about you being good enough or worthy. The inconsistency was a symptom of the parents' unfinished work and their own deeply embedded wounds, not an accurate assessment of what you as a child deserved. And when you turn the light on, when you look at the wound instead of letting it run around like a little asshole in the dark, the first shift is that locus of the evidence. The wound has been generating evidence from inside your nervous system and calling it objective reality. But the light lets you ask, is this true? Or is this what I was taught to expect? And the second shift is the possibility of something different. The wound narrows your field of vision. And in the light, you start to see what it's been blocking. The people who have been trying to reach you and couldn't get all the way in because you wouldn't let them. The love that was real and consistent that the wound filed away is temporary pending further evidence. This is not fast work. The wound is old. Seeing it clearly does not dissolve it, but it changes your relationship with it. Instead of being the wound, you start to have the wound. And something you have, you can examine. You can disagree with it. You can challenge it. You can slowly, imperfectly begin to move differently inside of it. And at the bottom of all of it, under the self-protection and the distance and the tests and the editing, is something the wound has been working very, very hard to keep you away from. The knowledge that you are not too much, that you have never been too much, that the people who couldn't hold you fully were limited in their capacity, not, and I repeat, not accurate in their assessment. The wound says you are the kind of person that people leave. The truth is you are the kind of person who learned to leave first. That is not the same thing. So, that was a lot, right? We're going to move on to our stone for today. And again, it's a two-parter. I'm pushing the limit with this because I feel like one stone, one baby step. You got that by now. So 2 parts, they work together. The first part, I want you to identify one place where you are keeping a controlled distance. Not in a relationship that is actually unsafe. Let me be clear. If you are in a truly toxic, abusive, unhealthy, bad relationship, that's not what we're talking about. But somewhere that safety is present, connection is possible, and you are still quietly holding something back. Just identify the place. That's it. Identify where the real version of your need or opinion has been replaced with the acceptable one. Just notice. That's it. Just name it. You don't have to do anything with it or about it yet. Just locate where the distance is and what it's costing you. Now, second, this week, let something land. Just one thing. When someone tells you they're glad you're in their life, when someone checks on you, when someone chooses you, when someone sees you clearly, let it in. Don't deflect it. Don't immediately find the reason it doesn't count. Don't reciprocate so fast that you never actually received it. By the way, when someone pays you a compliment, it's okay to say thank you. Actually, my favorite phrase is when I get a compliment, I say thank you, I am. And I've had people that are really startled by that. And I say, because I'm practicing owning it. So thank you for the compliment. I'm going to see it in myself. I am that. Thank you. And don't immediately reciprocate. If someone compliments you, you don't have to compliment back. It's okay to just receive it. And let it be real. Let it stay for like 10 seconds without the wound picking it apart. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. Sit with it. Lean into the discomfort. Because 10 seconds of letting love be real, that's the crack in the door. That's where we start. And you don't have to believe the wound is wrong yet. You just have to let in enough light that it stops being the only voice in the room. So I will be back on Friday, and I'm going to tackle the next one, which is going to be, I'll give you a little heads up, the unsafe wound. This is the one that lives in the body. And after everything that we've looked at this week, it's going to make a lot of things make sense. There's a reason, there's a method to my madness, and a reason I did it in this order. So I will be back Friday for that episode. In the meantime, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Light in the Dark, soft, soothing. And by the way, this week, each of the episodes is going to be based upon the previous day's episode. So the Tuesday night one was based on the unworthy wound. The Thursday night will be based on the unlovable wound. The Saturday night will be based on the unsafe wound. And this is going to continue for a while because there's a whole lot of core wounds and I'm really enjoying digging into these. So like, share, subscribe, hype, all that stuff. I will say that does not tell me that I am loved or that I'm worth something. It just helps my channel spread. So show me a little bit of YouTube love or Spotify love with all of that. Leave me some comments. I love, love, love hearing from you guys and getting feedback and seeing how we are all in this shit together. Okay? Anyone, by the way, I've said this before, anyone who acts like I'm all healed, this is how it was done, please disregard them. Nobody is ever fully healed. We are all in the trenches together. So I'll be back.